Hey, good morning, everyone. It's Joe of the Joe Madden Sports Podcast. I'm joined this morning by Jeff Sherman, VP of Risk Management of the Superbook. Jeff, welcome back to the show.
Yeah, thanks for having me on, Joe.
It's an absolute honor to have you here. What is new and shaking at the Superbook this week?
Well, prep for the U.S. Open. It's always a big week when we have a major upon us, and it's been busy this week, so a lot of fun.
Now, that sounds great. We got to talk about what is happening right now in the golf world. Things are really being shaken up. What are your thoughts on the live and everything that's happening, Jeff?
Well, for our perspective, it's a new tour that we took action on last week in Nevada and Arizona. Those are the two jurisdictions we're approved for, and we saw a decent handle on it. It's already surpassed the DP World Tour, which everyone knows is a European tour, and it looks like it'll be our second most wagered upon tour out there behind the PGA Tour. But it's still a wide distance. The PGA Tour, that's like the NFL, and this is like the USFL, and we've talked about that before. But I think it's going to gain steam. You got DeChambeau and Reed that are joining it for the Portland event in a couple weeks, and I think there's more to come. So it's going to be interesting to see. But from our perspective, it's something else to wager upon.
Yeah, absolutely. So you don't see the live going anywhere. You see it sticking around, Jeff?
Well, they have quite a lot of money behind them, and they have no interest in making a profit. So if they're able to afford it from that perspective, they're going to throw some large contracts that it's going to be difficult for some golfers to say no to.
Absolutely. Talking about that, you look at what these golfers are being paid. Yes, they have to leave the PGA, but they will be able to still play in the majors, correct?
As of right now, unless the majors change their criteria in the next few years. But we have a lot of the live golfers playing this week in the U.S. Open, and we should see the same thing in the British Open upon us. But there's some time between now and the Masters, and if anything changes, we'll see where that goes. Things are really fluid.
Now, Jeff, what do you think is going to be the reaction to these players that have joined the live playing in the U.S. Open this weekend? Do you think they're going to get some backlash from other players and fans?
I think the players might be hesitant. I think they might be critical, but I think you're going to see a mixed reaction from the fans. Some that'll be supportive and some that are against it, as we've seen a lot against it. So yeah, I think it's going to be a mixed bag from to deal with, but it's not unexpected.
And now we're talking, these players aren't just getting like 100,000 to go play. They are getting major contracts to go play, correct?
Yeah, they're getting upwards over 100 million. I mean, even Pat Perez joined for 10 million. And if you look at this stage of his career, he wasn't likely to make 10 million the rest of the tournaments he played in. So these guys are getting money up front, regardless of the results on the course, and anything they do on the course is added to that. So it's quite a bit.
Now, have you heard what the prizes look like for these guys once on the course?
Well, the winner gets 4 million, and there's a team event that's also involved, which we're not booking that aspect, just the individual aspect. But for the team aspect, that can add to it. And I know Schwartzel, who won the inaugural event in London, came away with over 4.7 million total.
Wow. Wow. Some serious money being thrown around over there. What do you think the effects are going to be on the PGA? Do you think we're going to see a lot more players migrating over?
I think it'll be constant because it's really difficult when you analyze it. Like DeChambeau said, it's a business decision. And it's something that you can set up your family for years to come, and it's guaranteed money. So, you could have injuries and things on the course that detract if you stayed on the PGA Tour that you don't have these opportunities. So I think that you're inevitably going to see some golfers migrate.
Yeah, it's going to be super interesting what happens to golf in the next couple of years. What do you think the PGA can do to shake things up to get people more interested in the PGA Tours?
Well, they're taking a pretty hardline stance right now, and I don't think that's the right approach to do it with. I think that I think they need to be somewhat welcoming and change some of their rules. And, a lot of these guys cannot participate in the FedEx Cup playoffs now, and that's a detriment because they've earned a certain position to this point. But it's going to dilute their product too if you get some of these top players. I believe Rahm might have slipped and said he was offered 400 million to go, and he declined that. We already know Tiger was upwards near $1 billion, and that was declined. But there's going to be some money on some young golfers. It's too much to pass up, and I think it's going to dilute some of what the PGA Tour has if these guys can't play in some form or another.
Yeah, absolutely. I don't know how many people could really stand there and judge anyone for taking $1 billion or $400 million to do what they love within a different tournaments. So it's going to be interesting, Jeff, for sure. I know lots of controversy around this, lots of fireworks going off, but we do have the U.S. Championships coming up. What are you thinking here?
Well, this is one of my favorite tournaments of the year just because of how challenging it is. And we put the winning score up 3.5 under par, and it's now been bet to 4.5 under par. But anytime you find a tournament that's really close in relation to par and is a test for these guys, it's fun to watch rather than them going out there and shooting 20 under. So I always look forward to this week. And you have to gear up looking for golfers that play this style of course. You're always dealing with rough. This week we have some really small greens to deal with. So approach shots into the green. One guy I'm looking at is in the current marketplace is Xander Schauffele. He's 20 to 25 to 1. And he's played the last 5 years in the U.S. Open, hasn't finished worse than 7th place. So he definitely can fit this style. He's in good form. Now, he doesn't win quite often at his win rate to warrant the outright odds, but you can find him in matchups, top 20 props, and that might be more fitting for a player like him, almost like Tony Finau does. But there's so many golfers that have a chance this week, and we're seeing the action really spread throughout.
Absolutely. Who are you getting the most action on right now, Jeff?
That's Scotty Scheffler. He's number in in money. Rory McIlroy's leading in the tickets, but at a smaller scale on the money aspect. But Scheffler's quite well supported ever since his Masters win. McIlroy well supported with him playing well and coming off a win in the Canadian Open last week.
Okay, that is fantastic. Any sleepers you have coming in here for your top 20?
Well, I can share with what some of the sharps are playing for sleep.
Okay.
Aaron Wise and Harold Varner III, and they've been bet down from triple digits down to 60 to 1 range, and they're getting well supported in the top 20 markets.
Oh, that is going to be super interesting to see how they do. When do you get the most sharp action coming in on golf? Is it at this point in the week or right before the tournament kicks off?
Well, generally we see about 80 to 90% of our action the day before. So today we're expecting a lot. The sharps have been pretty fluid since we put the numbers up. You know, when we put our props up on Monday, you see some sharps that think we might have mispriced some, so we get action then. We've seen some sharp play on matchups and props today. So they're pretty fluid anytime they can find value.
Does Superbook have any big tickets out there? Anyone come in with a huge bet on anyone?
Well, we've got a few that 1,500 on Bryson DeChambeau at 60 to 1.
Okay.
Now 125 to 1, just because he finished 9 over at the Memorial a couple of weeks ago coming off a hand injury. So he doesn't look like he's prepped to win. We've taken 1,000 on Dustin Johnson at 40 to 1, a couple thousand on Scotty Scheffler at 25. That was prior to the Masters. But we've seen a lot of Scheffler support, like I mentioned. So even at 12 and 14, he's seeing some. But those are some of the more notable ones.
Okay. How do you think Jon Rahm's going to do here, the defending champion?
Well, he's underperformed compared to his expectations over this season so far, and that's why he's drifted out to 14 to 1. But I think he's going to be very competitive. That doesn't mean he's going to translate into a win, but I would expect him to be top 10 in that range just because he's so talented, and even on his off days, he's so much better than the other golfers.
Yeah, absolutely. Phenomenal golfer here. So he is staying with the PGA, correct? You said that earlier?
As of now, he said that, but things always change.
And how much was he offered? 400 million?
Well, he said that he didn't need 400 million to change his life right now. So I think that's probably he let it slip that what he might have been offered.
Wow, 400 million. That is a solid amount of money, Jeff, I have to say. So it will be interesting to see what happens with these golfers that are leaving for the LIV after this versus the players that are sticking around, not taking that money. You think we're going to see any controversy on the course?
I don't think you'll see much of that. I mean, some of these guys, they're playing in groups together where you have some LIV golfers and some PGA Tour golfers, and these guys have known each other for so long that I don't think it's going to create anything. And I think you'll see smiles, handshakes, and banter like we've always seen on it.
Well, that's exactly what I hope to see. Jeff, let me know what else is happening at the Superbook this week.
Well, we've got the NBA Finals. We got tomorrow night, the NHL Stanley Cup Final tonight. So we're getting good action on those. We added a bunch of props to those, alternate spreads that people always like to have. So good action on those, winding down the seasons. And then we're always approaching, hopefully around July 1st in that range for the SuperContest signups. And that's always a big deal around here.
Yeah, I can't wait for that Super Contest to start. What is your goal for signups this year? Do you know?
Well, we're hopeful. I mean, things returning after the last couple of years of COVID, and we were down a bit last year. So if we can get 2 to 3 thousand this year, that'd be a nice jump for us, and get some people returning to form.
Absolutely. It's going to be phenomenal. Can't wait for that contest to kick off. Jeff, I want to thank you so much for joining me here on the Joe Madden Sports Podcast. Where can people follow yourself on social media?
Well, I'm always at Golf Odds on Twitter, and I have my website, golfodds.com, that I update the odds that we have up here at the Superbook.
Absolutely. Well, Jeff, thank you so much for joining me. Have a wonderful day. And you guys, I'll be back at the bottom of the hour with another Joe Madden Sports Podcast. Jeff, I can't wait to have you back on.
All right. Thanks, Joe.
Thank you.